In this video, I'm going to talk about what an ordered pair is and how to graph it. So right here, this is what an ordered pair looks like. It'll be a parenthesis, a number, comma, another number, parenthesis. The first number is called the x value. The second number is called the y value, and it does matter that we put them in that order, x, comma, y, hence the name ordered pair. Now, this set of numbers right here, these two numbers, the x and the y, represent a point, or a dot. And the particular numbers, whatever particular numbers are here and here, tell you where the point is, or where it belongs. So different numbers would represent a dot in different places. Now let's look at this graph. This is where we put the dot. This is where we're going to put the dot, somewhere in here. This line right here is called the y-axis. It's like a number line, only it goes up and down. This horizontal line is called the x-axis. It is also a number line, only this one is horizontal like it should be. The point where they touch each other is called the origin. And you'll notice I labeled the arrows at the end here. Basically putting an arrow here and here tells us that this is a graph and not just two random lines. So I took it apart here. I took the blue line and the green line apart to show you how these work. The origin, the middle point where they touch, is assumed to be the 0 part of the number line. And then as we go up, we get into our positive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. If we go down, we go into our negative numbers, -1, -2, -3, etc. And then with the x-axis, the horizontal number line, the point where they intersect, the origin, is also assumed to be 0. And then we number them out this direction, positive to the right, negative to the left, just like in a regular number line. So now let's do a problem with this. Graph the set 2, 3. So graph the point 2, 3. So first we have to draw our graph. We have to draw somewhere to put the point. Now notice that unlike up here where I labeled every single dash I put, I only labeled a few points here. I only labeled the 2 and the 4 here and the 2 and the 4 here. It doesn't really matter how many you label or how often, as long as the ones you do have labeled make it clear what all the other ones are. Like, you see there's just a dash here, then 2, dash, then 4. So therefore we can logically assume that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Then this is -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. And the same for the y-axis up and down here. So it's okay to only label a few of the dashes as long as it's clear what all the other dashes are by the little labeling you do. Okay, so I've drawn our graph here. Now we have to do something with our particular point. So right here, we can see that the first value, which if you recall, is the x value, and then this horizontal line is the x-axis. Therefore, we take the x value and lay it onto the x-axis right here. The x value was 2, therefore we went 1, 2 over on the x-axis. We went to the number 2 on the x-axis. And then we do the same with the y-axis. So we take the y value and we put it on the y-axis. The y value was 3, so we go 1, 2, 3 on the y-axis. Then what we do is we take those lines and we draw them out, if you see what I mean here. And we find where they intersect. We basically make it into a square or a rectangle. However, that would happen with those particular lines. And we see where it intersects out here, which this point right here, this dot, is the point 2, 3. That is the answer to our problem. We said graph 2, 3. This dot right here is 2, 3. and by drawing the point, we have graphed it. Now, another way you can think about this same problem is by doing the x value as over, and then the y value up. So over 2, up 3. So you do back a forthy, uppy downy. So the back and forth value, the x value, is 2, so we went over 2, and then we went up 3, 1, 2, 3, and put it there. Instead of, wouldn't have to necessarily draw all those lines, we could just count over 2 and up 3. Basically, that's just a slightly faster way of looking at it without drawing as many lines. So let's do another problem here. Graph 1, 4. Now, 1, 4. So the x value, the first one, is 1. Therefore, we have to put 1 onto the number line. So we go over 1, and then the y value of 4, we will count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see at the 4 right there how that lines up. Also notice here I labeled our system with just 1, 3, and 5, but again, we can see that this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just wrote the 4 there just for clarification. So we went over 1 and up 4. So this is the answer to graph 1, 4. That dot is the answer. Now let's look at another one that is slightly different. Graph -3, 2. So why this one is different is it has a -3. However, the same rules still apply. The x value, the backy forthy one, is still on the horizontal axis, only this time it's a negative, so we're going the other way. We're going to count -3, 1, 2, 3 in the other direction. The y value is still positive, so we still go up for that one. 1, 2. So this point is -3, 2. So again, it doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive. You do the first number, the x value, on the x-axis, backy forthy. The second number, the y value, on the y-axis, uppy downy. Only if the x is negative, you go this way. If the y were negative, we would go this way, as we will see from this problem. So, graph 4, -2. The x value, the first one, is positive 4, so we will go in the positive 4 direction, 3, 4 over. And then the y value is -2, so we will go, instead of positive 2 up, we're going to go, since we have negative, we'll go down for -2, -1, -2. So this point right here is the point 4, -2. And also, notice that I have been labeling them. Every time I draw a point, I label it. That is standard, and it is good practice to put what point you intended that to be, especially on hand-drawn graphs, where sometimes your lines get a little bit off, and it doesn't always end up where you want it to. So we try to label them to clarify that this really is supposed to be this point. But to summarize, do back and forth, then do up and down. First back and forth, then the up and down value. X, y. Now, here's some practice problems. If you want to pause the video, try these 5 different points, try to put them on a graph, and then in just a minute, I'm going to scroll down to show you the answers. But if you want to pause it and try it first by yourself, that would be a great idea, great practice. Okay, so here's the answers to those 5 points. You can see I have them all labeled, so you can check and make sure yours are in the correct place.